On Sunday, March 19th, the president of Switzerland and the chairman of UBS and Credit Suisse held a press conference to announce the merger of the two banks, which his government had rushed to set up before the markets opened. On Monday, the Swiss government used its emergency powers to merge the two banks without getting approval from the shareholders of either bank. You can think of this as the equivalent of martial law in terms of money. Since it was started in 1856, Credit Suisse has been one of the most respected financial institutions in Europe. In recent years, the company's once proud history has been tarnished by repeated scandals and bad risk management. This has caused the market cap to drop from a high of $80 billion in 2008 to around $9 billion at the start of 2023. Welcome to Financial Fortune, where we help you stay ahead of the game in the world of finance. In today's video, we'll be diving into the recent acquisition of Credit Suisse by UBS for $3.2 billion, a deal that's shaking up the banking industry. We'll explore how this acquisition could impact UBS's future prospects and what it means for the industry as a whole. Let's get started. When banks fail in the US in March of this year, there is a crisis of confidence in the banking industry around the world. This caused a bank run at Credit Suisse, where people rushed to get their money out of the bank. As their cash situation got worse quickly, the once proud Swiss institution was forced to accept a humiliating deal to be bought by their biggest rival, UBS, for the equivalent of $3.2 billion. This situation has been a complete disaster for Credit Suisse's shareholders, as this is a 60% discount from the stock's trading price on the previous Friday and a more than 90% discount from the bank's tangible book value. The Swiss Central Bank is also giving UBS a 100 billion franc loan to help them meet the liquidity needs of the new company they are creating by combining with their rival. This deal was terrible for Credit Suisse, but it might turn out to be the best deal of the year for UBS. In normal times, it would have been impossible for the two companies to join together due to fears about antitrust. With this deal, they will almost have a monopoly on the Swiss market and become one of the biggest wealth managers in the world, with more than $5 trillion in assets under management. Not only is there no pushback from the government, but the central bank is backing this deal with a 100 billion franc loan. In this video, we'll look at how the current banking crisis will help UBS a lot and what this means for the global financial system as a whole. In October 2022, Saudi National Bank, the biggest bank in Saudi Arabia, paid $1.5 billion for a 10% stake in Credit Suisse. Due to the bad UBS merger, their investment is now only worth $300 million, which is very close to a total loss. UBS Business Overview. UBS is a global commercial bank with its headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland. In a lot of ways, it is a lot like Credit Suisse. In fact, the headquarters of the two banks are on opposite sides of the street. They work in the same four areas: wealth management, personal and business banking, asset management, and investment banking. The Swiss bank segment of Credit Suisse is similar to the personal and corporate banking segments of UBS. Wealth management is the most important part of Credit Suisse and UBS. Because of its banking secrecy laws, Switzerland is a great place for oligarchs and other wealthy people to keep and manage their money without being watched. Say, for instance, that you are a wealthy businessman who made his money in a corrupt country. If you don't want the government to take your money, you might want to move it out of your home country. You'll need to hire a wealth manager to help you set up different shell companies to own properties, yachts, and other real assets all over the world that can't be easily seized for more than a century. For these kinds of services, people have gone to Switzerland. Credit Suisse and UBS are becoming a de facto duopoly in this industry. They can help you with tax planning, estate planning, and managing your money, among other things. Because the two banks did a lot of the same kinds of business, their share prices used to move almost in sync. No matter what happens in the investment banking industry, the two banks are almost always affected in the same way. However, their share prices started to differ a lot in 2021. This split happened because Chris was involved in two high-profile disasters, the Green Seal scandal and the Archegos collapse. Because of these scandals, Credit Suisse's wealth management clients sent them a net of $125 billion, while UBS's clients sent them $60 billion. Even though UBS has had some scandals, they have been much less common and much less serious than those at Credit Suisse. For example, UBS also lent money to Archegos, but only lost $800 million from the collaboration apps, while Chris lost $4.7 billion. Most analysts agree that UBS is more cautious and has better controls for managing risks. Credit Suisse tried harder to make as much money as possible, which led them to cut corners and make business decisions that were not always ethical. In recent years, the high turnover of Credit Suisse's senior leadership team was one of its biggest problems. During the 5 years from 2015 to 2020, Tejan Vyam was in charge of the bank. He was in charge of implementing a major restructuring plan to make the bank more profitable and cut costs. But in 2018, Iqbal Khan, who was in charge of wealth management at Credit Suisse, left the bank to take a new job at UBS. This betrayal, or so Tian thought, made him very angry. Tian made the controversial choice to hire private investigators to keep an eye on Khan, because he was afraid that Khan would steal some of Credit Suisse's best clients. There are different opinions on how legal this action was, but in the end, Tian resigned in shame after the scandal became public. This episode not only showed how Credit Suisse works, but it also showed how much the two biggest Swiss banks hate each other. Credit Suisse and UBS compete for the same clients because they serve the same markets and offer the same services. They also hire from the same pool of Swiss bankers. This keeps them in a constant state of competition with each other. Now that the two banks have merged into one, there is no longer any competition between them, which works out in UBS's favor. Too big to fail. After the global financial crisis of 2008, the idea of being too big to fail has become a big worry. Banks and insurance companies that were in trouble had to be bailed out by the government, which put taxpayers' money at risk. With UBS's recent purchase of Credit Suisse, the new company is even bigger and more complicated than before. This makes it a perfect example of a bank that is too big to fail. Even though it doesn't seem likely that UBS will go bankrupt soon, you could have said the same thing about Credit Suisse just 2 years ago. As one of the wealthiest countries in the world, Switzerland has built its economy on its dominance in the global finance industry. Since UBS is now the only big bank in the country, its failure would be so bad that Switzerland might never get over it. Credit Suisse was bought by UBS. Even though there isn't an explicit guarantee, this shows that UBS has implicit government support. This support can help stop a confidence crisis and a bank run on UBS, which is what happened with Credit Suisse's club apps. So, the implied promise that the government will help UBS indefinitely may be its most valuable asset. This guarantee can make depositors and investors feel safe, so the government won't have to pay for a costly bailout in the future. In addition to all the cost-cutting benefits we talked about earlier, the fact that UBS can never fail may be its most valuable asset. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. What do you think about the merger between UBS and Credit Suisse? Tell us what you think in the section below. Thanks for watching this episode of Financial Fortune. We hope you enjoyed our analysis of the UBS Credit Suisse acquisition and gained some valuable insights into the world of finance. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more updates on the latest financial news and trends. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Until next time, stay informed and keep growing your financial fortune.